Alrighty, welcome back to Mecha Mondays. I'm your intrepid narrator, Pilot Fraggeth, and today, hopefully, things are working. So bear with me a sec here as I double check to make sure that YouTube is in fact beaming things across the Weber ether. Looks like it is. It's saying it's live. I'm going to take its word for it. I couldn't get my streaming software to do much of anything until I disabled Twitch, so it is gone at the moment. I will re-enable it next time, provided, Amazon Web Services is working again. It's wild. I'm sort of kicking myself for not starting doing a live read-through of, a blind read-through of Enshittification by Cory Doctorow, because, of course, this happens right when I would have been doing it. But instead I copped out and was like, no, let the people doing the actual audiobook get the money. For the record, I highly recommend you go and seek them out. I think he's on Libra FM, I believe it's on. I recommend checking that out. Libra.fm. Let me just double check and make sure I'm not spreading fake news and misinformation. Maybe... Come on. Anyway, I'm not going to get sidetracked. I did just get sidetracked. The internet's being fun right now. I didn't think Libra FM used Amazon Web Services. I don't think they do. I think my internet might be reacting to the general pall in the internet quality as a result of, whatever's going on. Anyway... previously on Full Metal Panic, Book 6, Dancing Very Merry Christmas, I think they're Class 2-4. My gut is saying it's Class 2-4. Yes, Class 2-4, which is incidentally Chidori Kaname's and Sagara Sosuke's high school class homeroom. Has gotten an offer they cannot refuse, which is a Christmas cruise to make up for, their class trip that went horribly awry when, it got hijacked on a plane and set off the events of Book 1. So this is to make up for that. And Chidori Kaname is looking forward to the experience, looking forward to hanging out with Sousuke. They're absolutely a power couple. They will claim otherwise, that they are not a power couple. It's not true. They are right now engaging in power couple type behaviors. Unfortunately, Sagara Sosuke is called away at the last minute for a last minute mission. And so he cannot join. This bums him out. This bums Kaname out considerably as well. But they get to the boat. The captain is nice, but we are given an insight that maybe he is not so nice, but he seems nice to the people that are there. But as things are getting underway, as the ship gets underway and it takes off and they're about to have dinner, well, suddenly a group of suspiciously familiar terrorists, in air quotes, hold the place up and are like, "We have demands, so we're holding you all hostage." But unfortunately, Kaname takes none of it. She's like, "Nope," and just drags one of them right out of the room. For reasons that will become abundantly clear presently. They've already basically told us, but because I've been called out for delivering spoilers or alluding to things that are spoiler adjacent, I will avoid doing so. I'm sorry. Sometimes I can't remember if I've read this before or not. What part of the book that we've actually covered. It's a new trip around the Goldfish Bowl every week. I'm sorry. I realize that sounds like I'm being petty. I am actually sorry that I've incidentally spoiled things. I don't go for it with the intention of doing that. But, like, I'm not perfect. In fact, I'd go so far as to say I'm actually, I am thankfully, and I can't believe I'm saying this, thanks to AI, I am not by any stretch of the imagination anymore the worst option. But you aren't getting a professional job out of me. I apologize. However, we are here to have funskis. And so, funskis we will have. All right, let me get a little water in my mouth, and yeah, let's get this party boat a rockin'. "1930 hours. Bridge. Pacific Chrysalis." Those Mithril squad members who had infiltrated the ship as employees, and those who had landed in the ECS camouflaged helicopter, a little over 30 in all, had broken into two teams of 3 or 4 to swiftly lock down the ship. The machinery room and the crew cabins, the entertainment facilities, the communications infrastructure and temperature control systems, the storage rooms and the pantries. The simple presence of guns was enough to intimidate most of the crew and passengers into total submission. Each team precisely reported the number of hostages they'd taken, then gave an overview of their current status to their commander, Lieutenant Clouseau. Clouseau was currently on the bridge of the Pacific Chrysalis. He'd entered with 2 other PRT, Primary Response Team, members, and a few minutes earlier. The navigator, pilot, and other on-duty crew surrendered immediately in the face of their rubber bullet guns. Clouseau wasn't happy about putting innocent people at gunpoint, but those were his orders. He'd had no say in the matter.
Ruse 4 here. Area D4 secured. 32 hostages, 0 casualties. Ruse 5. Area A8 secured. 18 hostages, 0 casualties. No resistance.
Oh, wait, no, that's... I can't remember their call signs. Oh, no! Uruz 7... Okay, so Clouseau is probably Uruz 1 or 2. Bugger it. Doesn't matter. Uruz 8, C1 secured, uninhabited, 0 casualties, heading for C3 next. 0 casualties, 0 casualties, 0 casualties. One of the PRT soldiers plugged the information into a nearby laptop as the reports came in. Most of the passengers and crew on the ship were already secured. Uruz 9 here. D13 secured, 3 hostages taken, 0 casualties. We did meet slight resistance. Clouseau heard the report of Uruz 9, Corporal Yang, over the radio. Uruz 1 to Uruz 9. What constitutes slight resistance? Explain.
A cleaning lady threw a mop at me, Corporal Yang replied. Now she's given me an earful.
Clouseau said nothing. When he listened closely, he could just hear a middle-aged woman's voice through the receiver, shouting things like, "For shame!" and "Get a real job!" He closed his eyes, a vein throbbing in his forehead. "We are terrorists," he reminded his subordinate. "You don't have to listen to her."
"But she's right," Corporal Yang said guiltily. "It's not right to threaten people with guns, even if we do have a good reason. She's saying, remember the faces of your family back home. Remember Christmas as a kid. Talking about home-cooked meals around the family table. She's got my team all tearing up and questioning their life choices."
Yang's voice was cracking a bit, too. "Well, don't start bawling now," Clouseau ordered. "I'm unhappy about this as it is."
"Sorry, Lieutenant, but it just doesn't feel right doing terrorism on Christmas. It's a day when the whole world should be happy, you know? I'm missing my mom's cheesecake."
"Just secure your other assigned areas as quickly as you can," Clouseau told him. "Got it?"
"Roost 9, Roger."
"Heaven's sake," Clouseau muttered after turning off the radio. "I know why we are doing it, but this plan is still absurd." But why were they doing it? If not for Gowron giving them the keyword Badame, they'd have never suspected this cruise ship. Mithril's intelligence division had investigated it in advance and given it the green light, but it seemed they'd been wrong to do so. There was something more to this ship, and the invitation extended to Jindai High School had simply been a trap set by Amalgam, or by someone involved with them. This operation was their squad's way of getting the drop on them. The mission was to be carried out almost entirely independently. They hadn't told the intelligence division, naturally, but they also hadn't told most of the Operations HQ staff that the Tuach Dedanen was going to take control of the cruise ship. They leaked different information to different departments, so by watching how Amalgam responded, they might also expose any moles in their ranks. That's actually pretty clever. They still didn't know exactly what the ship was hiding. That's what they were here to find out. This plan would let them ensure the safety of the students and Chidori Kaname, while also letting them investigate a suspicious section of the ship. As a way to strike back at the enemy when they least expected it, the plan made perfect sense. Clouseau hadn't initially been much in favor of the plan that Sagara Sousuke and Kurtz Weber had concocted. He and the Dedanen's XO, Lieutenant Colonel Mardukas, were against the seajacking from start to finish, finding it ludicrous and irrational. But in the end, Colonel Testarossa and Major Kalainen steamrolled them by way of passive assent. "I'm a first lieutenant, after all. I'm close to being promoted to captain. It's about time I started learning to play politics," he'd decided. After all, they trained daily for dealing with this kind of terrorism, so they knew how to play the other side of it, but...
"Though, Lieutenant, I have to say, it's fun to get to play the terrorists for once. Great way to relieve stress," one of the PRT sergeants said happily, his submachine gun pointed at the navigator.
"I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that," Clouseau said with a disgruntled expression, "and call me by my call sign in front of the hostages." It was then that he got a report in from Mao, who had been sent to secure the grand ballroom and surrounding area. "Uruz 1 here," he began.
"Uruz 2 reporting in," Mao told him. "First hall secured. We have 324 hostages, including students and teachers, as well as 28 kitchen staff, including the cooks. 0 casualties. I decided to let them eat their dinner for now. We've also taken the captain into custody."
"Roger," Clouseau replied. "How is Ansuz doing?" Ansuz was the call sign for the commander-in-chief of the Tuach Dedanen battle group, Colonel Teletha Testarossa. It was only used during maneuvers in which she was outside of the submarine.
"She left the ballroom after Uruz 7 and Angel," Mao told him.
Hearing that, Clouseau scowled. "Angel left the hall? I thought she was going to lay low with the other students."
"Don't worry, I'll call them back soon," Mao said reassuringly. "How are the other teams doing?"
"They're about 80% finished," Clouseau told her. 0 casualties. We took the machinery room earlier and hijacked the communication systems. Some of the crew were apparently armed, and we did meet some minor resistance from them." No ordinary cruise ship would have armed security on board. Those people must be soldiers in cahoots with the enemy, which meant they really were guarding something important. I'm not sure. Don't they have an armed security staff on cruise ships? I don't actually know that. If someone else does, feel free to chime in. I would assume they have some kind of security. I don't know how armed they are. I see, Mao observed. So, should we continue as planned with the captain? Yes, take him in, Clouseau decided. And be gentle. Kaname walked swiftly, away from the ballroom full of students triumphantly tearing into their feast. When she finally reached an unoccupied smoking area, she gave Sousuke a hard kick in the rear. What are you doing? He complained. Shut the hell up! She screamed at him. It's fine if you didn't want to come on the trip. I don't care if you have a party at your base either. And I won't ask what kind of dirty business you people get up to all day. But now you're attacking our school? Seriously? Well, we're not exactly attacking your school. Like hell! And take off that mask, you... don't pull it so hard, he begged. It hurts. Kaname yanked the balaclava off of the struggling Sousuke. What the hell were you thinking? Explain yourself! Wait a minute, Chidori. Didn't you read the emails I sent you? Well, actually... Kaname hesitated. Things between her and Sousuke had been so strained lately that she'd deleted everything he'd sent her without a second glance. I wanted to tell you what was about to happen, but you wouldn't let me speak to you, so forget the emails! One of Kaname's deepest character flaws was her inability to just admit fault and apologize at times like these. That there's nothing you could say that could make sea-jacking okay. I thought you were the guys who fought terrorists. This makes no sense. That was when she heard a new voice behind her. Untrue. It makes perfect sense. Rushing towards her now was the masked, ash-blonde, submachine-gun-wielding maid. In a way, her appearance was far more disturbing than that of a normal terrorist. What the hell are you doing here? Kaname asked, slumping over. In response, the masked maid, Tessa, smiled confidently. I'm the brilliant leader of the Highly Discriminating Liberation Front, a.k.a. the HDLF. That's not what he called it before, Kaname pointed out. Never mind that. The point is, I am the very evil leader of a highly experienced terrorist cell. We spare neither women nor children. With that, Tessa made a pow-pow shooting motion with her gun. You're the child here, see? Kaname snatched the sunglasses off the other girl's face. But please, give those back. With her face now uncovered, Tessa's saucer-like eyes filled with tears, and she started flailing in panic. Feeling she'd proved her point, Kaname returned the sunglasses, and the other girl breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness, these tough guy glasses are the only thing keeping me from breaking under my guilty conscience. Or you could just not commit terrorism? Kaname demanded irritably. Tessa looked crestfallen. You're right, but this seemed like the safest and most reliable option. I truly am sorry for the fear and inconvenience we've caused the passengers. Putting on these sunglasses and comporting myself like a gang leader is the only way that I can maintain psychological balance. Kaname watched her skeptically for a moment, then said, Gimme, and snatched her sunglasses again. Give those back! Without those, I... Tessa looked like she might cry. This is really hard on you, huh? That's what I'm telling you! Chidori, stop, Sousuke ordered. Give them back to her. Sousuke's chiding caused Kaname's temper to flare anew. What's that supposed to mean? Give them back. No way! Humph! You're distressing the Colonel, and I've been trying to explain things to you. Explain better, then! Sousuke shook his head, exhausted by her continued hostility. Enough, Chidori. Your hard-headedness has exceeded rational limits this time. Well, excuse me, she retorted. I am an annoying brat who never listens, after all. That isn't what I said, he told her placatingly. I just don't understand why you always give them back. Tessa tried again. Oh, you shut up, too, Kaname snarled. Just give them back to her and listen to me, Sousuke said. Don't order me around. This is such typical you. Because you're always so stubborn. So are you, Kaname replied. You always act like you're the one in charge. Who do you think you are? I think just give them back to her. Kaname was unmovable, Sousuke was annoyed, and Tessa was panicking. Nothing was being achieved at all. That's when a new voice joined in over the din. "Enough already!" It was Mao. She was heading toward them, prodding along the captured Captain Harris with the muzzle of her submachine gun. This scolding from a fourth party brought all three to silence. "Yeesh. What's all this damned yelling about?" Mao demanded to know. "Also, Sousuke, why is Kaname mad at you? You told her what the deal was, right?" Affirmative, he hedged. "This is such a big mess. I managed to feed an excuse to the other students, but it's probably going to make her look really bad. This was your idea, remember? So it was up to you to get it done right." Mao lectured. "Take responsibility and see your mission through, Sergeant." "I'm sorry. I'm afraid I'll have to write this up in my report," Mao sighed. "Acceptable. It was my mistake," Sousuke admitted freely, without saying one negative word about Kaname. His behavior now was entirely noble, in a total reversal from his earlier bickering. It inspired a pang of conscience in Kaname. Really, if he were the kind of man who would have blamed this on her, she wouldn't get so stubborn and bothered about it at all. Ironically, it was his straight-shooting nature that made it harder for her to be forthright. "Well, it's fine," Mao decided, "but I'd better get you an explanation. Follow me, Kaname." "Huh? Where to?" "The vault. Isn't that right, Captain?" Mao said with a grin to Captain Harris, who was standing in front of them. The man kept his eyes pointed down, his face pale and drawn. Captain?" Kaname asked. As the captain of a sea-jacked ship, she would have thought he'd want to say something to a passenger like herself, reassure her, maybe. But instead, he just glared silently at her, without a single sympathetic word. You know, it would have been helpful if I'd noticed that my audio was not broadcasting for the last I don't even know how long. So, I apologize. Mistakes happen. It's been a while since I've done that. My bad. Where were we? I believe we left off with, Captain? Kaname asked. As the captain of a sea-jacked ship, she would have thought he'd want to say something to a passenger like herself, reassure her maybe, but instead he just glared silently at her without a single sympathetic word. Then we have a chapter break sort of thing. Just before the sea-jacking occurred, Commander Killy B. Sailor of the nuclear submarine Pasadena, part of the United States Navy's sub-pack, was standing in the cruise ship's telephone area. Most of the passengers had already moved to the dining halls, which meant he was alone. Sailor, who had come to Japan for Christmas break, was locked in an argument with his wife, who had just gone home to California. "Darn it! I call in to check on you, and this is what I get? Well, you idiot, I keep telling you, I had a mission, but I worked hard to get home the night before the trip to Japan and..." "Shut up. Huh? Then what was I supposed to do? Are you saying I should go up to the subordinates and engineers working up all night to fix a problem in the machinery room and say, 'My wife's mad at me, so I'm leaving'? You think I can... What was that? You mean you and that kid Smith? Aha, I see. Well, I'm having a nice time, too, with a real hot little number. Shut up. Takanaka's in Hawaii," Commander Sailor shouted into the receiver. The man had black hair in a crew cut and blue eyes, prominent features, high eyebrows, and a square forehead. In other words, he was the quintessential bodybuilder type. He had the physique to match, too, with a body like some macho man Hollywood star. He was feeling distinctly out of shape lately, but for some reason he'd developed no extra flab around his waist. It was probably a genetic thing, just the way his body was made. Most people meeting him for the first time, when they heard he was in the military, assumed he was Army, and he hated it. Commander Sailor went on shouting at his wife, who was nattering on hysterically on the other end of the satellite line. "Oh, shut up. Stop shouting about everything. The Navy is my life. If you don't like that, fine. Sounds great. Go suck that asshole off. It's not like you're... Hello? Are you listening?" Sailor tapped the receiver as her voice cut off. "Hey, Eliza, if that's the way you want it..." He scowled suddenly, questioning. There was no sound from the phone at all, not even static. She'd hung up on him. "Well, screw her!" He slammed the receiver down and was about to curse again, but instead he just sighed. There was nothing to be done then. His marriage was over. This trip had been a last-ditch effort to salvage things, but even that had blown up in his face. Ah, well. He'd paid a lot of money to come here, so he might as well enjoy it. After composing himself, Sailor decided to return to his table, where a delicious banquet awaited him. That's when something strange happened. A gunshot rang out from the ballroom. It was followed immediately by screams from passengers and other sounds of commotion. Dishes falling from tables, overturned carts, the barking of commands. There was no question. That was a gunshot. A submachine gun? An assault rifle, maybe. Commander Sailor looked around, panicked. Could it be a sea-jacking? He could hear swift footsteps approaching from just ahead, on the other side of the double doors. The terrorists were coming his way. He was the only one in the corridor. Beside him was the women's bathroom. He burst through the door and heard the terrorists' footsteps fly into the hall a second later, right where he had been. They'd be checking the bathroom soon, too. He had to find somewhere to hide. There was a maintenance door at the end of the row of stalls, probably for maintaining the pipes that ran up and down the ship. The mechanical workings that would have been exposed on a submarine were hidden behind wooden walls on this cruise ship. Sailor opened the door, stepped into the wall, and hid behind the thick pipes within. It was a close call. The men came barging in an instant later. They were checking the stalls one by one, their movements swift and sharp. Sailor held his breath. After making sure the stalls were empty, they finally opened the maintenance door to Sailor's hiding place. A flashlight's beam searched here and there around him. His breathing and heartbeat sounded deafening to his ears. But while he stood there, trying to hold his silence behind the complex network of pipes, the terrorist spoke up, reporting to someone on the radio. "Count 23. E10 secured. No one here. 0 casualties. Moving on to E12. The maintenance door slammed shut, and the footsteps departed just as quickly as they'd come. There was no idle chatter. As far as Sailor could tell, these men were very well trained. Silence returned. After savoring a moment's relief, Sailor came back out into the bathroom. Shoulders heaving, he put his hands on the sink and stared into the mirror. "Think," he chided his reflection. "Think, goddamn you!" The only reason he hadn't fallen to pieces or started weeping from fear was because he'd been through tight scrapes before, even if they had been in a totally different setting. He'd spent half of his life in a submarine, and accidentally... Oh, I can just skip several lines, apparently. The only reason he hadn't fallen to pieces or started weeping from fear was because he'd been through tight scrapes before, even if they had been in a totally different setting. He'd spent half of his life in a submarine, and he'd had a few near-death experiences. And even if most of it had come about accidentally, he had combat experience too. It wasn't commonly known, but very few serving submarine captains had actually fired torpedoes at an enemy, maybe only 10 in the whole world. Captain Sailor of the Pasadena was one of those few. "That's right," he reminded himself. "I'm a veteran. I'm an old sea dog, ready to do what needs to be done." The radio call the terrorist had put in earlier. Count 23, he'd called himself. He didn't know exactly what the call sign meant, but it was worth assuming they were dealing with a large enemy force. However, "Like hell I'm dying here," he whispered to the bathroom mirror. "Now think. Remember your Hollywood movies. People who do hijackings and things on Christmas always end up stopped by some hero who happens to be there. That's right. A hero. Couldn't the hero, in this case, be storied submarine captain Killy B. Sailor, coming here on a break to deal with his marital problems?" "Yeah, that's right," Commander Sailor told himself. "That's what it's gotta be." He could feel himself regaining his spirit. "That's just what this is," he realized. "Tonight is my night. A great adventure full of thrilling fights to get the blood flowing. A romance with a beautiful leading lady. A showdown with a despicable enemy. My problems with my wife Eliza will seem trivial." This was getting better all the time, really. "The big boss will probably be cold, emotionless, and handsome, probably someone out of the Navy, just like me. The girl will be a passenger on the ship, an exotic, dark-haired 20-something. And Exo Takanaka, who came on board with me, well, he's probably the guy who gets shot by the terrorists in the action." Takanaka. Poor guy. Commander Sailor let out a pained sigh. After convincing himself that his subordinate was as good as dead, Sailor moved into action. "But don't worry, Takanaka. I will avenge you. I'll let my rage over your death fuel me into a table-turning counterattack about 60 minutes in." First, he had to find a weapon. He'd start with a mop, clear out some weak enemies, then get a pistol, he decided. Next on the docket would be a machine gun. Sailor could almost see the Medal of Honor he'd get for all this. "Get ready to die, you damn terrorists." 2021 hours. In front of the vault, Pacific Chrysalis.
So, what's so special about the vault?
Kaname asked Sousuke and the others. They were in the bowels of the ship now, a corridor tucked away in a section near the machinery room. The vault was at the end of a hallway, and Kaname and the others had stopped in front of the door, which was made of a thick special alloy. Cruise ships similar to this one were frequently home to large storage areas like this, designed to safely hold precious jewelry, valuables, and works of art that the passengers had brought on board. In a ship of this size, it was almost the size of a bank vault.
Don't tell me you came here to rob the place, she muttered.
That's exactly what we did, Mao said casually, then beckoned behind her. All right, Captain, step right up. Sousuke prodded him in the back, and Captain Harris moved in front of the safe door. His expression was tortured. Open it for us? No, Captain Harris protested. There's nothing for you terrorists here in our vault. Do you think you can get away with this? Touch one hair on my precious passengers' heads and you'll pay. Uh-huh, Mao said with a smirk and brandished her gun. Cut the act already. What are you talking about? Last October, this ship underwent a refitting at the Shinkurusu shipyards, Mao said. There's nothing about it in the documentation, but it seems like they messed around with some things around the vault here. Adding more to the area by cutting into the space reserved for fuel tanks, making the bulkheads more durable, way beyond what a normal passenger ship could possibly need. I don't know what you're talking about, Captain Harris denied. And even though it hurt efficiency, you swapped out the workers daily, Mao went on. Was it so they wouldn't realize what they were doing? I don't know what you're talking about. The upgrades we ran last year were just about modernizing our fire prevention systems, Captain Harris insisted staunchly. Besides, I'm just an employee of the cruise company. I don't have any control over ship alterations. Not in any public capacity, no, Mao agreed. But there's no way that you, as captain, didn't know about the armed guards or about this section of the ship, right? The man remained silent. And now we know that your company's bigwigs got a big payoff from someone. There's no paper trail connecting you to the foundation in question, but money can always be traced. It was like a scene from a crime drama. Mao was the detective, and Harris was the culprit, which would make Kaname a random audience member struggling to follow along. What are you talking about? She asked. Mao shrugged in response. I think whatever's in this vault is a lot more valuable than smuggled goods, she said. Probably something important to amalgam. Harris's shoulders tensed up. See? Written all over his face. Mao grinned. And then there's the way you looked at Kaname earlier. You don't really think of her as one of your precious passengers, do you? It's almost as if you knew about her ahead of time. Harris said nothing, his face now white as a sheet. His fingers and jaw were trembling. His eyes were opened wide, and sweat had begun to bead across his forehead and neck. I think you know by now, don't you, who we are? I think you know by now, don't you, who we are? Sousuke, who had previously been silent, now spoke up solemnly. Sunan, Ariake, Perio, Hong Kong. You've always had us playing defense, but we finally regained the initiative. Accept that, and cooperate. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know anything. This is all ludicrous, Harris whispered, after emitting a deep sigh. Then, a split second later, he was moving, throwing himself at the unsuspecting Kaname. He was holding a small knife in one hand, which he must have smuggled in under his uniform hat.
Frozen, Kaname felt her mouth drop open. He reached for her collar, but Sousuke was faster. He knocked Harris's arm aside with his shotgun stock, then plunged a fist hard into his exposed solar plexus. Harris let out a grunt, then collapsed to his knees. Sousuke then kicked him in the face, which sent him into a crumpled, coughing heap. "This is who this man really is," he declared. On his hands and knees... Oh, that's not a quote. On his hands and knees, Harris let out a whine. Even Kaname, who was always kicking Sousuke around, was stunned by this barbaric treatment. "Boy, what a sad way to show your true colors," Mao lamented with a shrug. "Thought you could just take her hostage, huh? Too bad. Guess the jig is up on your gentleman act." "That's right," Sousuke agreed. "It was your actions that were truly ludicrous." "Urgh," Harris groaned. Sousuke knelt down in front of the man. "I can't imagine why you would want to get my school involved. You thought you could use our students as hostages to force Chidori to do something, correct?" He must have been right, because Harris gritted his teeth and glared at his captors. Oh, that's right, there's a cover change. Give me 1 sec. Whoops, wrong folder. I'm gonna say it's this one. No. Yup, let's do one. "Well, Sousuke?" she asked her compatriot. "It doesn't look like a performance," Sousuke said, giving his opinion with cool-headed insight. Oh no, I skipped a page. Oh no! Oh no! How could I do it? He must have been right, because Harris gritted his teeth and glared at his captors. "But remember this." Sousuke grabbed him by the collar and pulled him in close, pointing the knife he'd stolen at Harris's neck. "If you lay one finger on anyone from this school, not just Chidori, I will personally skin you alive and watch you bleed to death," he promised solemnly. "Do you understand? I will subject you to pain and despair beyond your wildest imaginings. Don't assume Mithril is some naive band of do-gooders. We know exactly how you people do things, too. Don't forget that." Harris remained silent, his face ashen from fear. Perhaps detecting the deadly aura radiating from Sousuke, Tessa squirmed nervously. "Sagara-san is being rather frightening," she observed. "He is being weirdly intense," Kaname agreed. "Perhaps hunger is making him irritable," Tessa suggested in response. "Yeah, he does seem a little pissier than usual." The whispered conversation was occurring right next to Sousuke, and his eyebrow twitched as he overheard them. "Chidori," he said at last, "I am currently attempting to intimidate a hostage. Would you please be quiet?" His request caused Kaname to snap again. Puffing out her cheeks, she said, "Why am I the only one you chewed out?" "What? Well, I—" "She's exactly right. You must discard your biases and scold me as well," Tessa interrupted. "Why should I—" "You're always on eggshells around me, Sagara-san." "That's not the problem, is it?" Sousuke demanded in exasperation. "It is the problem," Tessa insisted. "You always do it. Why am I always the one left out?" You know, Tessa, would you two please—" As the three-way yelling started up again, Mao pulled a handgun from under her vest, then silently fired it into the ceiling. There was an ear-splitting clang, and dust sprinkled down on them. Silence reigned again as Mao returned her handgun to its holster and cleared her throat. "Look, you three, this conversation is going nowhere." "Right," Kaname and Tessa responded in unison. "Anyway, Captain," Mao continued, "please open the safe." "What?" "What? But I can't open it." "What? But I can't open it," Tessa protested. Not you, Captain. The other Captain, Mao fumed. Tessa tapped her fingers together meekly. Oh, I was only joking. Shush, Mao muttered, mussing up her hair to express her frustration. Kaname and Tessa decided to move a little distance away to avoid another deflation of the needed intensity, as she and Sousuke resumed their attempts to intimidate Harris. Anyway, open it, please, Mao said as she dragged Captain Harris over and sat him in front of the vault's console. I can't open it, Harris said, looking flustered as he read the screen display. Come on, Mao scoffed. Cut out the stall tactics, would you? It's true, though, Harris insisted. The safe's electromagnetic lock has already switched to emergency mode. It won't accept my passcode. Oh, really? I guess I'll have to drag it out of you, then. Mao pointed her submachine gun's muzzle at Harris's right knee. I won't kill you right away. We'll start with a little warning shot. Right, Sousuke? That does seem appropriate, he agreed. I'll count to 3. Harris panicked and cowered. But please believe me, I'm not... 1. I'm not lying. Once it's in this mode... 2. Listen to me. There's nothing I can do to open... 3. As Harris desperately protested, Mao fired 3 muffled gunshots at his knee. Harris let out a falsetto scream and fell onto his backside. Did you shoot me, you stupid bitch? Now the left one, she decided, and began to adjust her aim. No, please, stop! I can't open it, I'm telling you! Damn it, I mean it! I mean it! Mao and Sousuke exchanged a glance as they watched Harris, gripping his right knee and sniffling. They seemed somehow disappointed. Well, Sousuke, she asked her compatriot. It doesn't look like a performance, Sousuke said, giving his opinion with cool-headed insight. I guess it's not going to be easy, huh? Mao said with a sigh. Just as expected, he agreed. Let's get to work. Right. Have Spec and the guys bring the machinery in, Mao said, making the order official. Roger. Sousuke reached for the switch on his radio and contacted the team. Hey, big guy, you gonna sit there crying all day? Get up, Mao said, kicking Harris roughly with her toes as he rolled around on the floor. Meanwhile, the sound of the gunshot had brought Tessa and Kaname running from the other end of the hall. They protested immediately when they saw what was happening. Mao-san? Kaname exclaimed in shock. I get that he's a bad guy, but this seems a little much. Melissa, I understand that this is necessary, but at least treat his injury, Tessa insisted. Mao scowled at them. Treat his injury? She scoffed. At the most, he needs some ointment. They both looked at her, confused. Look closer, she suggested laconically. Rubber bullets. There was no blood on Harris's shot knee. If she'd used a live round, there would have been a pool of crimson on the floor by now. Which doesn't mean she couldn't have just broken his kneecap with that. Rubber bullets are no joke. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts! A doctor! Call a doctor, please! The only one who didn't seem to realize this, then, was Harris himself, who continued to writhe over-dramatically. I don't know, dude. He probably is in quite a lot of pain. Anyway, soon enough, the members of the other teams that had secured the Pacific Chrysalis began to wander up to the vault. Some of them seemed to recognize Kaname, and called out things like, Hey, Kaname, and How you doing? But because they were wearing masks, she didn't know who was who. Corporal Yang and another soldier led off Captain Harris, who was whining indignantly about the pain he was in. They'd probably continue his interrogation in another section of the ship. Electronic devices, large and small, were rolled in on a cart. These were probably meant for opening the vault door. Are you gonna crack the safe now? Kaname asked. Yep, Mao told her. We'll just have to pick the lock. Directed explosives won't even dent the bulkhead around it. It's about on par with the reactor of a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. Mao used a specialty tool to remove the console panel, then started fiddling with the electronics inside. Is that impressive? Kaname wanted to know. Affirmative. A carrier's nuclear reactor is designed to survive even a direct hit from an anti-ship missile unscathed. The metal they're using here is close... Oh, that's Sousuke. Affirmative. A carrier's nuclear reactor is designed to survive even a direct hit from an anti-ship missile unscathed. The metal they're using here is close to that, Sousuke said. I was hoping to show Kaname what was in the safe, but this is going to take some time. Why don't you rejoin your friends for now? Mao asked. Fine, Kaname agreed. But what's in there anyway? We don't know yet, Tessa said, but it's clear that they were after you, so it's most likely related to your nature as a whispered. They probably want to put you into a Taros or some other research apparatus. We're going to interrogate the captain and break into that safe tonight. We'll collect all the data we can, then withdraw from the ship. Oh, so that's why you're here, Tessa? Kaname finally understood. Tessa was quite capable as a submarine commander, but the minute you threw her out into the field, she became a useless klutz. It was one thing when trouble arose spontaneously, like in Ariake, but it was unusual for her to join a planned operation like this. That's right, Tessa agreed, puffing out her chest. They'll need my intelligence to analyze what's inside. I think you just wanted to dress up as a maid and mess around, Kaname told her acridly. I think you just wanted to dress up as a maid and mess around, Kaname told her acridly. Tessa slumped over. Kaname was wondering if she'd gone too far when Mao chimed in with agreement. Kaname's right, Tessa. You can't complain about being seen that way after how you've acted today. Please don't trip up your soldiers in the field, all right, Colonel? Ignoring Tessa's pouting in response, Mao plugged a few cables to her laptop, then spoke into her radio. Urus 2 to Count 6. Cut the power to C-35. All the lights in the ceiling suddenly flicked off, then turned on again. Mao gazed at her PC's holo screen and clicked her tongue. It's no use. Forget it. Put it back on, she ordered. Knew it'd be an independent circuit. I'll just have to work my way through each security level. I'll need Dana's help, too. For connection, yeah, V channels and G channels are too slow. I'll need the wire. You brought the drum of fiber optic, right? Call it Turtle to the starboard side. Oh, Dana, not Dana. I mean, I guess you could do it either way. Kaname and the others stood by silently, listening to Mao's jargon-laden speech. Yeah, Mao went on. I want a wired connection to the Turtle. Huh? The commander says no? Say it's Tessa's order, then. Naturally, Tessa was annoyed at having her name used in vain. Melissa, do not arbitrarily invoke my authority. Okay, fine, Mao said agreeably. Can I have permission? Well, kind of in a hurry here. Mao waved her hand in annoyance. Tessa hesitated for a second, then, with a sulky scowl, said, You have my permission. Right, thanks. With that, Mao turned her attention back to the job at hand. Spec, is the stethoscope ready?
Ready,
Corporal Spec reported, playing around with the machine that used ultrasonic waves to determine the layout of the blocked-off room. Then let's try it out. Go on, Kaname. Go rejoin the hostages. Mao ordered. Sousuke, make sure she gets there safe. Tessa, don't loiter around here. You'll end up tripping over the cables. Go somewhere where you won't be in the way. If you need something to do, you can get me a sandwich. Ignoring Tessa's attempts at protest, Mao clapped her hands together. Everyone ready? We're short on time, so let's get this done. The members of the safe-cracking team all shouted, Let's do it! in response. Chapter 3. Two Captains. 24 December, 2052 hours, Japan Standard Time. In front of the vault, Pacific Chrysalis. The safe cracking looked like it would take some time, so on Mao's suggestion, Kaname decided to go back to her schoolmates. Sousuke hurried to accompany her. "It's fine," Kaname told him stiffly. "I can get back by myself." "No," he insisted. "I'll walk with you." Just then, Kaname realized that Tessa, who'd been sulking over Mao's patronizing treatment, was now glancing over at her. She couldn't explain why, but it made her feel guilty. The treatment she got from Sousuke really did feel special by comparison. He was biased in her favor, and that wasn't fair at all. With that feeling nagging at her, she repeated, "I said it's fine." "No, I'll walk you." Sousuke refused to give in, so Kaname decided to give up on arguing and just start walking. Sousuke quietly accompanied her. The two walked away from the vault, then headed for the elevator that would return them to the upper deck. "I'm a pretty awful person," Kaname found herself thinking. Just an hour ago, she'd said all those things to Kyoko, and none of them were actually true or fair. "I don't care about that jerk, and he doesn't really like me at all." But now that she was seeing the bigger picture, she was realizing that she was the real jerk in this situation. And yet, she hadn't apologized even once. She'd been attacking him every step of the way, and she'd even behaved cruelly to Tessa. She had been angry and sarcastic, and even though Tessa was in a much more difficult position than she was, Kaname had actually been jealous of her. "I really don't get it," she thought in bewilderment. "Why am I always like this?" "Maybe I'm just spoiled," Kaname muttered to herself. "That could be it. It could also be that today's a special day. Or maybe I just don't feel right when he's not with me. Still," she rationalized, "I can't let things stay like this forever. Isn't that what I learned on that rainy day 2 months ago? Besides, I'm not 16 anymore." With all that in mind, Kaname decided to speak up. "Hey," she said. "Yes?" Sousuke inquired. Nothing," Kaname mumbled, chickening out. "I see." Another long silence followed. They stopped in front of the elevator, pressed the call button to go up, and once more Kaname forced herself to speak. "Hey," she tried again. "Yes?" "Everything's kinda turned into a mess, but—" "Yeah." "I think I was happy that you came, Sousuke," she managed, and gently took his sleeve. She wasn't yet ready to hold his hand. A longer silence followed. "Is that weird?" Kaname asked, "coming out of nowhere?" "No, I don't think it's weird." This time it was Sousuke's turn to stumble over his words. "I'm glad to hear it." "Really?" "Yeah. Sousuke cast a glance at the corner that joined the elevator hall to the corridor they'd come from. "What is it?" Kaname wanted to know. "Nothing. Not an issue." Kaname tilted her head at him. "It's all right, I think," Sousuke said reassuringly. The elevator door opened with a ding. Once they were inside, Kaname got a second wind. Say, you want to hit up the observation deck?" she asked in an energetic voice. "There's no hurry to get back to the others, right?" She held her finger over the topmost button, then waited to see his reaction. "It's true that there likely won't be any more violence tonight, so it's probably not an issue." Sousuke pondered for a moment. "It will be cold outside, though." "That's okay," Kaname told him. "We won't stay out too long." "I see. Wait just 1 minute." Sousuke flipped his radio on and started a conversation with someone. It was all code names and jargon, and Kaname had no idea what any of it meant. At last he said, "Uru 7, roger. Thank you." Then he shut off his radio and said to her, "Let's go." Kaname broke out in a smile. Corporal Yang of the SRT and Private Wu of the PRT walked along towards the crew quarters block, dragging Captain Harris along with them. It was a bare-bones corridor that went on and on. Since the area wasn't used by passengers, it was full of exposed pipes and girders. There were no high-class furnishings to be found here, not even carpet.
"So, Corporal," Wu was saying, "I told this little girl, listen, just because it's Christmas doesn't mean you can go wandering around town at this hour. You never know what kind of scum might try to pick you up."
"Right," Corporal Yang agreed.
"And, well, she was just 11 or 12 years old, you know, and she grins at me like Master Sergeant Mao.
She's a lieutenant now, actually.
And she pulls this huge revolver out of her bag. It's a .38 caliber 5-inch barrel. She says, 'Get lost, soldier boy. You're getting in the way of my business.'"
Wow.
"It was an awful town," Wu grumbled. "Makes a man doubt the existence of God. The only decent hospital was in my base, too."
Yang and Wu were sharing Christmas memories.
Come on, Wu, don't you have any more cheerful stories? This is just depressing. Hey, Captain, can't you walk any faster?
Yang said he says it leisurely.
Hey, Captain, can't you walk any faster?
Yang said leisurely to Harris, who was moving sluggishly along, hands cuffed behind him, dragging his right leg.
"I got shot in the leg, remember? You could have at least prepared a stretcher."
Harris, still worked up about the shooting, snapped back at him.
"Listen to this needy old codger," Wu put in. "Why'd we get stuck with this guy, Corporal?"
No idea, Yang sighed. Darn it, I wish I was on Kurtz's team.
They get to go to a party full of teenage girls.
While Wu and Yang were grumbling to each other, the masked Kurtz, Weber, was standing on stage in the ballroom, singing passionately into the mic as he played the guitar. What? Oh, Lord. I assume this is like directly taken from the original text because it's incoherent. I'm assuming it's just goofy English.
Wow! Take me out, Trench! A fat cat in front of Maya says that! Yeah!
The Jindai High School students were cheering, clapping their hands, and swaying to the beat.
Wow, he's really good! Eee, that mask guy is so hot! He sounds a little like a foreigner I met once,
Kyoko muttered, but nobody was listening to her.
Thank you! Come on, everybody!
Yang and Wu just sighed as they walked down the dark corridor, as if they really could hear Kurtz carrying on.
He brought a guitar, right?
Yeah, he knew he was gonna do it. That guy's nuts.
And easy to flatter.
And always ready to show off.
Just then, a noise came from a crew cabin nearby. It sounded like a pen falling to the floor, followed by a rustling of clothes.
Urus 9 to Urus 1. Any friendlies in D30?
Yang whispered into the radio after a pause. He had already turned his submachine gun towards the cabin. It was loaded with non-lethal rubber bullets, but they would still hurt when they hit. A few rounds fired into someone's face would feel like a pounding from a pro boxer. Wu pulled Harris in closer while keeping an eye out in the other direction. The number of hostages their teams had reported in was a match for the crew and passenger rosters. There shouldn't be anyone else wandering around the ship besides them. Lieutenant Clouseau responded immediately. Urus 9, negative. Report your status.
We just heard a sound in one of the cabins, Yang responded. Investigating now.
No, leave that to someone else. Prioritize transporting the captain, Clouseau ordered. Yang clicked his tongue.
Come on, they'll be away by then. They'll get away by then. I'll check it myself. If you don't hear from me in 1 minute, surround the block. Out.
Wait! Yang turned off the radio, then signaled for Wu to stand by, and approached the cabin in question. There was more faint rustling. Yang took a deep breath, then opened the door and stepped swiftly into the cabin. The only sign of life... The only sign of life there was a white cat on the bed. Had someone brought it on board? "It's a cat," Yang said after a long pause.
A cat? Heaven's sake.
Yang slumped over, then turned back in the door to face Wu and the captain. Just then, he saw a large, muscle-bound man holding a bucket over his head appear behind Wu and Harris. "Wu, you're six!" His warning came too late. The bucket crashed down on Wu's head, sending him stumbling and gurgling beneath the dirty water.
Wow!
"Wu?" Though Wu and Harris were in his firing line, Yang didn't hesitate to unload. They were just rubber bullets anyway. They wouldn't kill anybody.
Ow, 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 ow!
Screamed Wu, who was now wearing the bucket while Harris hit the floor. The attacker used Wu as a shield, then grabbed a wire hanging from the wall.
Take this, you damn terrorist!
The man screamed and pulled the wire with all his might. There was a metal clinking sound. Yang was about to shout, and then another bucket fell down from the ceiling and landed straight on top of his head. A limp crack filled the hallway. Yang's last thought before losing consciousness was, "I think I've seen this setup before." After giving a full beating to the bebucketed terrorist, Wu, it seemed his name was, with his mop, Sailor cried out,
Well, how do you like that?
He then kicked the terrorist in the butt. The action was met with faint writhing and a moan.
Hey, you! Are you the captain?
Sailor helped up the crew member, whose hands were cuffed behind his back.
Don't worry, I'm a friend. Killy B. Sailor, Commander, United States Navy. I'm the famous captain of the USS Pasadena, a tough-as-nails veteran who just happened to be on board. Once I get all this under control, I want you to introduce me to the media as the true patriot and Iron Man Captain Sailor.
Right, Captain Harris agreed shakily. Oh, it's the setup from, what's that Steven Seagal movie? With Tommy Lee Jones playing a terrorist. Welcome to the revolution. Jeez. I can see the movie in my head. I just can't remember its name. Anyway, it's like that. Meets Die Hard, meets insert other... It's the whole thing is just a series of goofy... Also meets Home Alone, apparently. Commander Sailor picked up the enemy's machine gun and checked the remaining ammunition.
Yeah, this'll do fine, he told himself. The bullets aren't the same color as the ones I used in standard training, but a real sea dog doesn't sweat the details. First, we need to make tracks. They'll send reinforcements soon enough. You can walk, right? Actually, you'd better run.
Wait, sir,
Captain Harris managed to interject.
Well, could you take off my handcuffs first? Oh, for the love of... Fine, hold out your hands.
Commander Sailor pawed around the terrorist's body, found a bunch of keys, and unlocked the captain's cuffs.
Better? Okay, let's go.
I need to find a radio and contact the outside, Captain Harris announced bravely. You should go on without me.
What are you talking about? You're not safe alone, Commander Sailor scoffed. If you're going for a radio, I'm coming with you.
I'm grateful for the sentiment, but no.
For some reason, the captain was adamant about going it alone.
This ship is like my second home. I know all the best hiding places, and we should avoid the chance of both of us getting caught at once. We can meet up later, Captain Harris suggested. Do you know the shopping center? It has plenty of places to hole up and hide.
Understood, Commander Sailor agreed gruffly. Take care.
See you later,
the captain said. Then he turned around and started running. Sailor had no way of seeing the slight smile on his face. Tessa returned to the vault from the corridor near the elevator hall. Mao, who was working busily on the lock, said to her immediately, "Hey, Tessa, quit hovering. I'll call you once I'm in, I'll call you once I'm in, so go somewhere and sit tight. Sheesh, you're clumsy enough as it is." She was so focused on the display, she didn't even spare Tessa a glance. None of the other subordinates present paid her any mind either. They were all too focused on their own tasks.
I'm sorry, Colonel. Please get out of the way.
"Colonel, ma'am, you're in the way, just standing there."
"Sorry, Colonel, you're distracting me."
That's what they all said. It annoyed her at first, but after being treated that way again and again, Tessa eventually lost the will to protest. She really was clumsy, after all, and she didn't know anything about picking locks. The maid outfit she'd found so charming when she'd showed it to everyone before the mission now seemed silly and childish. She tried asking if she should make some tea, and the response was an indifferent, if you want. She asked if they'd like chamomile, and the response was an indifferent, whatever you like. She felt like an absolute nuisance. With a stinging sense of loneliness running through her, Tessa slumped over and headed for the crew kitchen on the same floor. It was a few minutes' walk away, and turned out to be completely bare bones. She looked around for a tea set, but all she could find were coffee mugs. Tessa sighed in resignation as she pulled out the small tin of herbal tea she'd brought with her. She took off her sunglasses and rubbed her eyes. She wasn't going to cry, of course, but she did feel miserable.
"Come on," she told herself. "We're on a mission right now."
She was the one acting unreasonably here. She needed to stop acting like they were on a picnic and appreciate her subordinates' focus.
"Still, I just feel so invisible. Today is supposed to be my special day, yet even Sousuke, he just ran off with that girl. And then in the elevator hall, they—"
As she was gloomily filling the kettle with water, she got a call through her small earpiece radio.
"Urus 1 to all units. We have a situation."
It was from Lieutenant Clouseau on the bridge.
Urus 9 and Count 28 were attacked near B-19. Injuries were light for both of them, but the captain they were escorting was kidnapped. Be on your guard. Urus 3's team has the area surrounded, but he may have already escaped.
Someone had attacked Corporal Yang and taken Captain Harris. Tessa cringed as she heard the announcement. Trouble had arrived. She had to cast aside her childish woes and get a grip. Clouseau's announcement continued.
The attacker appears to be a passenger. Maybe he thinks he's being a hero. Don't kill him or them. I repeat, do not kill the rogue element. The man who took Captain Harris is Caucasian, 6 feet tall, wearing a suit, with short black hair and a muscular physique. He stole a firearm, but it only contains non-lethal rubber rounds. I repeat, the attacker is Caucasian, 6 feet tall, wearing a suit.
Tessa's attention was snatched away from Clouseau's communication. A man had just leaped into the kitchen. He was 6 feet tall, wearing a suit, Caucasian, with a muscular physique and short black hair. On top of that, she had to say, he looked a bit like Arnold Schwarzenegger when he acted in comedies. In other words, he looked just like the man from Clouseau's report. The man pointed a submachine gun, probably Yang's, at her, and barked at the top of his voice,
Okay, don't you move, filthy terrorist!
Then he stopped and narrowed his eyes suspiciously at Tessa, a young girl, standing frozen in front of the stove, holding a large kettle and 2 mugs, and dressed as a maid.
"Ah,"
she said tactfully.
Aren't you part of the crew? What the hell are you doing here?
He asked, whipping his gun in various directions with strangely exaggerated sweeps. One sec, we've got another image change here that
I gotta do real quick. Give me just a moment here. I think it's this one right here. That it? That's it. That's him. There we go.
Who are you?"
Tessa tried again.
It's okay. I'm a friend, Commander Sailor told her reassuringly. Just a brave passenger who happened to be aboard. I just got done finishing off 2 of the terrorists.
"What?"
I also saved the captain, but he ran off on his own. Sailor continued. I'm a little worried, but I'm sure he'll make it out fine.
He'd let Captain Harris, the amalgam collaborator, run free? What were you thinking? Tessa demanded to know.
Oh, don't be a buzzkill. I've got the situation under control.
No, I don't mean that.
Anyway, it stinks that my leading lady has to be a damned kid, but I guess beggars can't be choosers. Sailor grumbled to himself. It's dangerous here. Follow me.
I don't understand what you're talking about. Ow, that hurts! Tessa exclaimed in surprise. Let me go. Where are we? Sailor began to march them along swiftly.
We're getting out of here, he exclaimed enthusiastically. The terrorists are nearby. Good thing I found you first, or things would have gotten X-rated fast.
I don't think that's true. Please, ow, don't yank my arm, Tessa begged. Stop this. Are you listening to me? Oh.
Toughen up. This is life or death, okay? Pain comes with the territory. Get running, sailor. Show some balls.
I don't have any balls. Tessa didn't even have time to grab the submachine gun or sunglasses she'd left in the back of the kitchen. Dragged unwillingly by the hand and tripping over her unfamiliar high heels, she stumbled along behind him. All she could do as they went along was continue to protest, with tears in her eyes. Same time frame. Observation deck, Pacific Chrysalis. Kaname had been hoping for a romantic atmosphere, but the observation deck turned out to be dark, cold, and desolate. The bayside lights were no longer visible, the wind was biting cold, and the sound of the waves was more haunting than enchanting. This was the Sea of Japan sung about in Enka ballads.
Feels more like the setup to a lover's suicide.
The thrill she'd felt in the elevator was long gone. The scene, which was as far away from Christmas as you could imagine, had left Kaname completely numb.
It's a fine night, Sousuke said in complete defiance of her feelings. I find climates like this very relaxing. Moonless nights are your ally when it comes to running raids. What do you think, Chidori?
What do I think? What do I think?
Kaname parroted back. Still, it was unusual for Sousuke to be the one to speak first. She wondered if he was trying to cheer her up.
Well, it's pretty cold, right?
Afghani winters are colder, Sousuke shrugged.
And windy.
Strong winds are frequently our ally. They mask our footfalls from enemy infantry.
I wish there were some nice light displays on deck,
said Kaname, trying to change tack.
We're on alert, Sousuke countered. Illumination would be foolish.
Kaname fell sourly silent. She just couldn't get the conversation rolling, even though she was usually so good at facilitating these things. Sousuke cleared his throat.
I'm reminded. Today is Christmas.
Huh?
In accordance with the custom of giving presents on Christmas, allow me to give you this.
Sousuke pulled a fountain pen from his pocket. Kaname looked at it in confusion.
It appears to be an ordinary fountain pen, he went on, but it contains a miniature stun gun. The output is 200,000 volts, but it only has the battery capacity for 1 or 2 uses. Don't forget that.
Oh, thanks,
Kaname said listlessly. The initial offer had made her heart skip a beat, but its result was frankly anticlimactic. Another self-defense tool. He'd given her any number of platonic presents like this in the past, and this was supposed to be a Christmas present. Well, she appreciated the sentiment, but couldn't help feeling let down. Again unaware of her feelings, Sousuke was embarking on a breathless explanation of how the weapon was used, when suddenly he got a call on his radio.
Wait a minute, he told her.
Then, after a brief exchange, Sousuke grimaced.
What's wrong?
Kaname asked.
Trouble, he told her shortly. I need to get to work.
Huh.
You should return, he suggested. I'll escort you back to your classmates. The terrorists weren't as good as Sailor had imagined them to be. They were pretty well organized, but their aim was crap, and they seemed surprisingly timid. It wasn't just a hesitance to open fire, they actually seemed worried that they might hurt him or the maid. They'd get him surrounded like pros, but then in some critical moment they'd always panic or back down.
Don't move! Stay where you... Wait, Colonel? Ah!
A terrorist that had appeared around the corner of the hall took a hit from Sailor's gun and fled. Sailor howled, firing the submachine gun in his right hand and dragging the maid girl along with his left.
This'll show you, you terrorist bastards! Try your worst! I'll take you all on!
I won't object to you fighting if you wish, but could you please release me first?
Tessa requested.
Yeah, fight me! Sailor yelled, completely ignoring her. Man to man, Sailor's on the job!
He's not even listening,
she sighed to herself.
You sons of bitches, take this and this!
Sailor couldn't even hear the maid's pleas as he first sent his enemies scattering, then ran past them down the corridor. After getting shot, the terrorists typically said things like,
"Damn it, we're taking it easy on him and it's making him cocky."
But again, he wasn't listening.
Ah, Corporal Howard, let me go! Let me go!
The maid girl continued struggling, trying to escape Sailor's grasp. He ignored her, turned to face an enemy appearing behind him, and fired. Just then, he heard a dull whoomp.
Well, don't underestimate the United States Navy. You people are...
The maid had hit her head on a nearby pillar and fallen limp against his arm. She looked like a cartoon character seeing stars. Sailor stared at her for a moment, then shook it off.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, catch me if you can. You damn terrorist bastards!
Still propping up the unconscious maid, Sailor kept firing and escaped from the block. Same time frame. Passage C, Deck 3, Pacific Chrysalis. Harris held his breath and kept moving as he listened to the gunshots ring out in the distance. He'd nearly been discovered several times already, but of course this was his ship, and he knew it by heart. It was full of passages that wouldn't be marked on normal maps, largely maintenance spaces hidden behind decorative fixtures, which made it possible for him to outwit his enemies and flee. After all that, at last he was able to calm down and think. No, he didn't even have to think. This is not good, Harris realized. His plan had seemed perfect, yet they'd completely outmaneuvered him. How could he have predicted that they'd raid the ship and take all the passengers hostage? It was utterly inconceivable. At this rate, they'd not only expose the contents of the vault, but steal tons of sensitive data to boot. Even if he got away and managed to hide, there was no way Amalgam would forgive this. They'd kill him for sure. So what do I do now? Harris asked himself. Let them have their way, then go into hiding once he returned to port? No, that wouldn't work. It would be difficult for a man acting alone to escape their grasp. He'd have to make an unquestioned show of loyalty, while bringing them a present important enough to protect him from further sanction. To do that, first, he'd need to make contact. Then, he'd need to activate them. As Harris moved through the cramped space above the ceiling, several times he heard cautious footsteps approaching from close by. The enemy must be searching for him. When he finally reached the lifeboats, he couldn't believe that he'd made it without being seen.
Truly a Christmas miracle. God is watching over me,
Harris thought cheerfully. He climbed into a lifeboat on the port side observation deck, then groped around in the dark until he found its survival kit. Inside the sturdy case was a satellite transceiver. He didn't have an exclusive secret channel, but he remembered the emergency frequency and code. He manipulated the radio uncertainly until he got in touch with an amalgam-backed relay station.
Emergency message. It's a top priority. Hurry!
Harris hissed. His direct superior responded shortly.
What is it?
Came the executive's electronically modified voice.
Mr. Gold, I'm in trouble. Mithril got the drop on me. They took over my ship and now they're trying to break into the vault.
The man on the radio hummed thoughtfully, as if carefully considering this information. Then he said,
So, what's your plan?
Well...
You're about to expose important tech and information to an enemy,
Mr. Gold said, cutting Harris off.
You used a dangerous channel to contact me, and you're wasting my time to report it. Spit it out.
To capture the girl and escape, Harris rushed to say. If you'll come and retrieve me, please.
Can you do it?
Mr. Gold questioned.
Yes,
Harris replied. There was no other answer he could give.
I'd also like permission to use the machines we loaded into the pantry the other day. If I can use those to distract the enemy, it will increase my chances of success.
A brief silence followed. To Harris, it felt like forever.
Very well,
Mr. Gold finally allowed.
This kind of situation is exactly the reason we included them. As for the vault's contents, there's nothing to be done. I'll explain things to the other executives. You focus on your job. I'll inform you of the process for retrieval later.
Thank you. I'll make it work, I promise. Please know you have my undying loyalty.
I know. Hang up already.
The channel was closed before Harris could even respond. Same time frame. Somewhere in East Asia. After Harris's transmission ended, the various executive holograms attending the conference voiced their disapproval.
What an absolute fool.
Doesn't he realize the situation he's put us in?
We can safely assume that the message was intercepted.
What a useful subordinate he's been.
Each of these statements was rife with sarcasm. Mr. Gold just snorted, his expression unchanging.
I won't deny that Harris is a fool, he admitted, but we can't be certain that it was the plan that was flawed.
Nonsense. It's clear we should have just abducted her while she was going about her daily life. It's this roundabout nonsense that...
I agree. This has entered the realm of the absurd. No. I agree. This has entered the realm of the absurd.
Why didn't you report this plan to us anyway? This could be taken as a breach of trust, you know.
If I'd told you, you'd have been against it, Mr. Gold said with feigned innocence. Leaving the girl at large gains us nothing. Don't you think that the recent incident with Mr. Iron proved that?
Iron, eh? That damned traitor.
He basically killed Mr. Callium. Callium. I don't actually know how that's pronounced.
That's right. And there's something else about this that doesn't add up. Why is it that out of everyone in Mithril, only the West Pacific Battle Group had such strong suspicions about that ship? Even Mithril's intelligence division, led by General Amit, judged the Pacific Chrysalis a safe haven. Yet the Tuatha Dé Danann managed to gain confirmation through their own solo investigation, with sufficient confidence to get them to greenlight a plan as bold as this. How did this happen? The most plausible explanation would be that someone leaked the information directly to them.
One of them clicked his tongue.
Iron, I bet. Sounds like something he'd do.
He did try to burn down Hong Kong for the fun of it,
Someone agreed. The executives all shifted restlessly in their seats, perhaps imagining the thin, mocking smile of the dead man, Gowron. In retrospect, his amalgam executive codename had taken on a bitterly ironic twist. Iron couldn't mix with mercury. In other words, it couldn't be part of an amalgam.
So, what do we do now? Those mithril bandits are going to get away with every scrap of information on that ship.
True, the facility doesn't have much value to us anymore, but I don't like the idea of just letting them have their way.
You make it sound like you've already taken measures.
I've dispatched 3 flying craft to the area. Each has a Leviathan inside. They should arrive soon.
Going to sink the ship?
Of course.
What about Chidori Kaname? It's all for nothing if she dies,
one said. Oh.
What about Chidori Kaname? It's all for nothing if she dies,
one said, and then they heard a chuckle. The hologram executives that ringed the round table all turned to look at one seat. All the seat contained were white letters that read, "Audio only." What's so funny, Mr. Silver?
She won't die,
came the cool, elegant voice of a young man. How can you be so sure? Because she's a whisper like you?
I'm afraid that's not one of our powers, no. Let's just call it, yes, a gut feeling, Mr. Silver replied. Still, we do have those machines stored away in the ship's pantry. Letting Harris activate them will make his job much easier. The anti-personnel autonomous weapons? Yes, 12 Alistors. They've been programmed to find, protect, and escape with Chidori Kaname.
You think those killer dolls are capable of such high-level judgments?
I wouldn't call it high level, Mr. Silver denied. Their ROEs are excessively simple.
What are their ROEs?
Why don't you ask Mr. Gold? The young man's voice had a teasing tone, though there was a sliver of ice behind it. The group turned back to Mr. Gold, who responded, indifferently,
Eliminate all obstacles. Kill anyone who gets in your way. That's all. December 21:36 hours, Japan Standard Time, Pacific Chrysalis, sea near Izu Archipelago. By the time Tessa had regained consciousness, the shooting had stopped. They must have completely shaken them off. She felt a little woozy from the blow to the head, but insisted she could walk on her own, and continued on, pulled along by the rogue element. Unfortunately, she seemed to have dropped her radio in the earlier tumult. While stumbling along, she managed to inquire as to the man's identity. His name was Sailor. He was an American, and he had come here with one of his subordinates for Christmas break.
So, honey, what's your name?
Sailor asked, looking both ways cautiously before turning a dark corner.
Mantissa. Talitha Mantissa,
she said, giving him a fake name she used from time to time.
I see. Well, honey, stay close behind me. Don't worry, I'm a veteran. Those terrorists don't... Hey, where are you going?
Tessa had begun striding in the other direction, but Sailor grabbed her by the back of the collar.
Well, we had made our introductions, so I thought that we might part ways here.
Tessa found it impossible to pry the large man off of her. She thought about calling out, but for some reason this was one time when there were no Allied footsteps drawing near. What she needed to do was get away and report the man's location to their teams.
Don't be stupid,
Sailor growled at her. Now, come on.
But But I don't think we should go that way,
Tessa protested. Sailor was heading for the shipboard shopping center. It was the block they designated as being the most difficult to secure in their pre-mission discussion. The shopping center was large, with a complicated layout that compromised visibility. It had a lot of exits, too, so it would be easy to escape from, and it was loaded with resources that could be used to make traps.
Why don't we go that way instead? I think it would be better for both of us.
She pointed towards the gym one deck up. That one was a dead end. Her allies would be able to corral Sailor and capture him quickly.
That's a dead end, he told her. We'd be trapped like rats.
Oh, I see. Then why don't you simply throw down your weapon and surrender? I don't think they're as villainous as you think they are, Sailor-san,
Tessa suggested. Sailor's response was a condescending snort.
You're naive. They're like the devil himself, same as all terrorists. Some civilian maid couldn't understand. Or what? Have you fought terrorists before?
Yes, I'm afraid I have. More times than I'd like to. Ow!
Tessa let out a small cry as he bopped her on the head.
What are you doing?
She challenged him, tears in her eyes.
Don't make fun of me, stupid.
I'm not.
I can tell that you're out of your depth, so just shut up and follow me, Sailor told her. Got that? If you try to run, I'll shoot you.
This is absurd,
Tessa grumbled while considering her options. Perhaps, at this stage, it would be wiser to stay with him and just try to keep the situation under control. She couldn't get in touch with her allies just yet, but she might still get a chance to use a shipboard telephone. From what she'd seen, the ground teams had been caught off guard by the amateurs' rampage. But they weren't incompetent, and they wouldn't keep losing forever. Besides, they probably weren't particularly worried about her anyway.
Very well, Tessa capitulated. Let's hide somewhere and wait for our chance.
Good. Glad you see things my way. Now let's go.
Sailor started moving, finally, dragging the stalling Tessa along. Once he had the despondent Yang and Wu in front of him, Lieutenant Clouseau found he'd lost the will to yell.
There's no excuse for how badly we've failed.
We'll take any punishment you dish out.
They were still in the place where the ambush had happened, a corridor in the crew block. Despite standing at full attention like proper soldiers, they seemed terrifyingly deflated. Your punishment can wait until after all this is over. Go run security on the cargo hold. At Clouseau's order, Yang and Wu offered a salute, then ran off.
He might not be cut out for it after all,
First Lieutenant Castello, who'd accompanied Clouseau, said after they were gone. He was the PRT's commander, and had the call sign Uruz 3. He was in his mid-30s, of Latin descent, and lanky, with a goatee. Castello. My bad. Yang, you mean? Clouseau clarified.
Yeah, any other SRT member would have been neutralized. Oh, geez. Yeah, any other SRT member would have neutralized that guy, even at the risk of killing him. But he couldn't do it. It's more than just a matter of being caught off guard.
I did forbid them from causing casualties, Clouseau said. Maybe that's why.
That's no excuse, Castello offered. Being part of the SRT means ignoring orders if necessary, even if that gets you a reprimand. Tough, though obviously we can't just tell them that.
Clouseau said nothing in response. Oh, now it says Costello? What? What is it then? Give me a sec. That one's a misprint. It's fine. All the others are consistently Castello. Or Castello? I don't know. Actually, knowing Japanese, you could Romanize it either way. Like Abbott and Costello, since I think the syllable is the same. Kasutero. I don't know. I'm gonna keep doing the double L as Castello.
Yang has skill and experience, but he lacks the mindset needed.
Castello continued to argue.
We should drop him back to the PRT.
We'll need Major Kalainen's input to decide, Clouseau told him. When this operation is over. Just then, he received a transmission. It was from Sousuke's team, which was searching for the rogue element.
Uru 7, sorry I'm late. Someone's emptied out a lifeboat. They took a satellite transceiver. Be careful.
The line was staticky due to an Allied helicopter jamming satellite transmissions above. Urus 1, Roger. The Dedanen intercepted their message, and we've got a pave mare jamming appropriate frequencies now. Don't worry about communications. Expand the dragnet and get searching.
Roger.
After Sousuke signed off, Clouseau clicked his tongue. That's not good. In hide-and-seek, Harris has the advantage. If this had been a normal ship, they'd probably be able to find Harris without much effort. But the Pacific Chrysalis was extremely large. It was effectively a floating city. They didn't have enough people to cover it all. And until the ship was secured, they'd need to spare most of their forces monitoring hostages.
Don't panic. From what I can see, the aggressor is a total amateur. He didn't cause too much trouble,
Castello was saying, but just then they got a call from Mao.
Urus 2 here. More trouble. We've lost Aunt Suze. We found her things left in the crew kitchen. I think that wannabe John McClane took her.
Mao was referencing the protagonist of the movie Die Hard, which had been a big hit a while back. It was about a one-man army who fought his way through a building occupied by terrorists.
We already know she's with a McClane wannabe,
Clouseau retorted sharply.
That's part of our trouble. Why did you let her out of your sight anyway?
Well, I screwed up, Mao admitted. The vault was giving me more trouble than I'd anticipated, and I got so tied up working on it.
This reminder of their other problem prompted Clouseau to ask, how much longer will it take?
I don't know, she said. It might all go as scheduled, or we might be 3 hours late.
Fantastic, Clouseau grumbled. By that time, the Japanese Coast Guard will have us surrounded.
I told you I'm hurrying. I'm worried about Tessa, though. She really is clumsy and useless on land. Find her quick, okay?
Mao was apparently still working on the vault as they spoke. Her words were brisk, but she also seemed distracted. She probably wanted to join the search herself. I know, Clouseau told her. Don't worry about the colonel. Leave it to me and focus.
Thank you.
With the transmission over, Clouseau groaned. His stomach was churning. This had never happened before. If it's not one thing, it's another.
That's just how things are, Castello shrugged. I've never seen an operation go entirely according to plan.
Then Clouseau got another call. This time it was from Kurtz Weber.
Uru 6 here. We've got trouble.
What is it now? Clouseau demanded.
The kids polished off all the food, Kurtz reported. They're demanding more to eat. Can I let the cooks into the kitchen?
I don't care, you idiot,
Clouseau shouted, and then turned off the radio. After they entered the shopping center, Sailor made a beeline for the indulgence items section.
Sailor-san, what are you looking for?
Tessa asked. The response was immediate.
Booze, he told her. Vodka if they've got it.
You can't mean...
Yeah, I'm making Molotovs. I'm way underarmed here.
Don't do that, Tessa protested. You could really hurt someone.
You bet your ass, Sailor told her. I'm fighting bad guys, remember? Terrorists screaming and burning and falling into the ocean. Yeah, it'll be a beautiful sight. You get searching too. Go on.
They ended up finding about 10 bottles of spiritus. Spiritus? A rectified spirit that was about 96% alcohol.
Whoa.
They could stick a rag in one, light it, and throw it. That was a Molotov cocktail. Sailor got some handkerchiefs and towels from other stalls and started about his work. Tessa didn't like it, but she eventually decided to help him out. After finishing 3 Molotovs, Sailor cursed.
Damn it! I can't open the stopper. Hand keeps slipping.
Curious, Tessa peered at the man's hand in the darkness and was surprised by what she saw. Sailor's right hand was covered in blood.
"That's awful," she said. "When did you hurt yourself?"
During the fight, he admitted. Guess I just caught it on something.
"Why didn't you say something earlier?" Tessa scolded. "We need to get you to the infirmary."
Are you nuts? Sailor asked incredulously. They've got a dragnet out. Besides, this is nothing.
"Then take your jacket off," she demanded. "I want to see the wound."
Tessa had some basic knowledge of first aid, and she'd even sat in on some surgeries to try to build up her nerve.
It's none of your business, Sailor told her. Besides, you're a maid, not a nurse, so be a maid, shut up, and make Molotov cocktails.
"That doesn't even make sense," Tessa argued back. "Just let me see it."
Hey!
Tessa forced Sailor's suit jacket off, then grabbed his burly right arm in her hands. The inside of his dress shirt, mainly the lower half up to his elbow, was wet with blood. There were about 5 or 6 other interlocking cuts there.
"Do you know the place to press to stop bleeding?" "To stop the bleeding?" Tessa lectured at him. "It's here. Press down on it, hard."
Right, Sailor agreed uneasily.
"Harder," she ordered, "until you feel the bone."
When Tessa touched the inside of his upper arm, Sailor looked slightly distressed.
I know that.
"For heaven's sake, I don't know how you managed to run around bellowing with a wound like that."
Was he stubborn or just completely insensate? Tessa sighed as she tore up a nearby towel.
How do you think?
Sailor replied stiffly.
I'm a Navy man, remember? I can't cry over one little cut.
"The Navy? Are you with the United States military?"
That's right. I'm on leave. In fact, I'm... Gah!
Sailor screamed as she pressed a vodka-soaked rag to the wound.
Tessa giggled. "I thought a true sea dog never cried."
Why, you little...
So he was with the U.S. Navy. Judging by his behavior, he had to be an NCO, perhaps around warrant officer level, an old man barking orders at sailors in an old-fashioned vessel, or in the base, managing shipments, something like that. Though he didn't seem quite tan enough for that. Is he a desk jockey? Tessa wondered as she tore a towel into strips to serve as bandages.
I can't figure you out, Sailor said suspiciously. You're more clear-headed than I'd expect from a maid.
Am I? She wondered.
Most people would be scared shitless by all this, but here you are, barely batting an eye. You remind me of one of my men,
Sailor told her.
"He must be a very fine man,"
Tessa said, and Sailor scowled.
Yeah, right. He's awful.
"Oh?"
He argues with me about every little decision, Sailor grumbled. He doesn't respect me as his superior. It's unspeakable. He doesn't pay me one mite of respect.
"I see. Even without knowing all the details, I think I understand how you feel."
Tessa let out a deep sigh.
Oh, I see. You understand?
"Yes," Tessa admitted. "It's awful when your underlings don't respect you."
No kidding.
Sailor agreed forcefully.
It's horrible, and Takanaka just doesn't understand.
It was just around the same time that the XO of the U.S. Navy nuclear attack submarine Pasadena, Lieutenant Marcy Takanaka, was enjoying a pleasant chat with a beautiful woman across a dinner table. "You know," he said, "this is a lot more laid back than I would have expected from a sea-jacking."
"Yes, I agree,"
the woman nodded. She was dressed in a black evening gown and wearing fashionable glasses.
"The terrorists have been so accommodating," she went on. "Let us know if you get bored and such. It's such a relief, although I'm still going to file a massive complaint with the Operations Division when it's all over."
Oh, okay.
"Let us know if you get bored and such. It's such a relief, although I'm still going to file a massive complaint with the Operations Division when it's all over."
That last sentence was muttered, barely audible. A vein in her forehead twitched slightly as she said it. Huh?
Oh, nothing. By the way, where is the man you were with earlier, Takanaka-san?
I couldn't say, Takanaka said as he savored another bite of thick, juicy steak. He's probably in one of the phone corners, sorting out finances with the wife who ran off on him.
Oh, the poor thing.
But Takanaka wagged his finger at the woman's show of sympathy. Oh no, he completely deserves it. He's a stubborn ass who never listens to anyone. I'm sure she was just at her wit's end.
Really?
Really? It's hard enough working with the man. I can't imagine being married to him.
Oh, dear, the woman said.
He's my superior, but he finds fault with every single thing I do, Takanaka went on. He treats his subordinates like we're incompetent. It's horrible. We don't get any respect.
That certainly does sound hard, she said cautiously.
Tell me about it. It's awful, but he doesn't understand that. Takanaka stopped himself and shook his head. Anyway, enough of that. Let's enjoy our dinner.
Good idea. It seems that contrary to expectations, I'm not going to have anything to do tonight, so I might as well take it easy.
The woman agreed. Huh?
Oh, nothing. Now, do tell me more, Takanaka-san, the woman said with an enchanting smile. The truth is, I face a similar matter in my own workplace, Tessa admitted after listening to Sailor's story.
Oh? He questioned.
As you can see, I'm quite young, and my elders frequently treat me like an incompetent. I believe they consider me unsuited to my position.
The maid business is more complicated than I thought.
I'm perpetually unappreciated, no matter how many times I prove myself, Tessa continued. I'm treated as a nuisance in all situations. It's truly frustrating to me.
Sailor nodded in hearty agreement.
I hear you, he said sagely. I worked my way up from seaman, too. It was a hell of a fight to get where I am today. The Annapolis guys under my command treat me like some know-nothing novice.
Huh?
Tessa's jaw dropped as she heard Sailor's words.
You're an officer?
That's right. Surprise, I'm a commander. And this might not mean anything to a civvy like you, but I'm captain of one of those upgraded Los Angeles-class nuclear subs.
What? Tessa asked. He serves on a submarine, and he's its captain?
But it was Sailor's next words that really threw Tessa for a loop.
By the way, the sub's name is the Pasadena, he nattered on. It's part of Subpac.
He stopped, noticing her reaction.
What's with you? Did your whole face just have a spasm? And you're looking queasy, too.
Sailor peered at Tessa with a scowl. She was pale and sweating.
How can this man be captain of the Pasadena? Tessa wondered. The United States nuclear submarine that tried to sink us during the Perio incident in August. You mean you're...
she began to ask.
Am I what?
You're the captain?
She managed, and Sailor took offense.
Oh, what? You don't believe me? He demanded. As a matter of fact, I'm one of a damn few submarine captains with a live combat experience. Just a few months ago, I wound up in an engagement with this dirty, cheating hulk of an enemy sub. I sent that sucker in a rout and saved one of our boys above. Got me a silver star for that one. Really something, eh?
He stopped himself.
Ah, crap. Forget I told you that. It's supposed to be classified.
Now it was Tessa's turn to take offense.
Wait a minute. What do you mean, dirty, cheating sub? As you did not rout me. I dodged both of your torpedoes. How dare you trivialize my skills? Besides, there were other factors at play at the time.
Sailor just looked confused.
What the hell are you talking about?
He seemed baffled by her interruption. Tessa snapped out of her indignation and stammered.
Well...
Well?
He pushed.
That's classified, Tessa apologized. Please forget I said it.
Sailor just shook his head.
Okay, whatever you say.
He didn't really seem like the detail-oriented type. Tessa wondered how a man like him had ever made it to command. Well, life was complicated, of course. Despite its overwhelming presence on the world stage, the U.S. military could be surprisingly inefficient and bureaucratic. Not everything it did was necessarily logical, and perhaps certain fates had conspired to allow a short-tempered man like him to rise up in the ranks. Still, there was one thing that didn't quite add up.
But, Sailor-san, Tessa asked, what is an American like you doing on this cruise? Wouldn't it have been easier and safer for you to take a trip around the Caribbean than to come all the way to Japan?
Tessa's question brought a scowl to Sailor's face.
Well, there's a few reasons for that,
he admitted reluctantly.
What kind of reasons?
Well, back in the day, I was stationed at Yokosuka,
Sailor reminisced.
It was years ago now, but the first sight I ever officially saw through a periscope as a captain was at Hachijojima in the distance.
Oh, sorry. He wasn't at Hachijojima.
It was years ago now, but the first sight I ever officially saw through a periscope as a captain was Hachijojima in the distance, he continued. The weather was shit and there wasn't much to see, but it really got to me. Made me realize how far all my hard work had brought me. I can still remember that sight, those flickering lights from the civilian houses.
Tessa could imagine how he felt. Looking through a control room periscope wasn't something just anyone was allowed to do. For someone who had clawed his way up from seaman to command, it must have been an unspeakably moving sight.
I wanted my wife to see what I'd seen, Sailor told her. It's a common tale for submariners, but I'm on the verge of divorce. It's been a real deep freeze for a while now, and for lack of any better ideas, I thought I could maybe give her a sense of how important my work was to me. That must sound like something a dumb kid would do, I guess.
It was indeed a childish thought. But if she were in his place, Tessa thought, she might have done something similar.
Then your wife is on board with you?
She asked.
No, Sailor let out a small sigh. I got back from work the morning we were supposed to head out and found her bedroom cleaned out.
Tessa fell silent.
Looking back now, I can see that she was never going to come along at all. I tried to call her earlier, but all we did was scream at each other. Don't know why I bothered. I know she's got another guy.
His words were hollow and desolate. Sailor's expression, previously so animated, had seemed to age decades in a matter of minutes.
Just your nice, basic landlubber. Sets my teeth on edge, but there's nothing to be done.
Nothing at all? Nothing at all?
Tessa asked breathlessly.
Yeah, Sailor sighed. Fighting it's no good.
For some reason, a song began playing in Tessa's mind. It was a sad blues melody she'd heard a long time ago. "Sure 'Nuff I Do" by Elmore James. I love her if she doesn't love me, even if she doesn't love me, even if it's hopeless, I still love her. That was what the lyrics meant. Remembering that tune, so out of place on Christmas, she turned her eyes downward.
I'm in a similar situation, she found herself saying again. I'm just like Commander Sailor. We're both haunted by the same demons.
Sailor cast a glance at Tessa.
Got a guy you like, huh?
Yes, but he...
It had fallen out of her mind in all the chaos, but now Tessa remembered. After they'd parted ways at the vault, she'd followed after Kaname, hoping to chat with her. As a result, she'd overheard their conversation in front of the elevator. That awkward conversation between Sousuke and Kaname, even the world's most oblivious person would have been able to pick up the special vibe between them, and it had driven home to Tessa that she had no place there.
He really doesn't see me at all, she'd realized. He only sees her.
That was right. I think I've lost him entirely, she lamented.
Well, if it's your gut telling you that, it means you probably have.
Sailor agreed sadly.
Yes.
Sailor thumbed subtly at the tears forming in his eyes, then hesitated a moment, and said,
I'm not exactly Mr. Romantic Experience here, but you're young, and you're really nice. You'll find a better guy in no time.
It was the most heartfelt thing he'd said yet.
Do you really think so?
Tessa asked quietly.
Yeah, just make sure he's a proper sea dog, Sailor advised. Landlubbers can't be trusted.
Tessa giggled and smiled teasingly at last.
Perhaps I'll consider you, then, Sailor-san.
But Sailor just waved dismissively.
Not gonna happen. 1, I don't go for kids. 2, I like brunettes with big tits.
He cackled. Tessa scowled at him.
Are you completely unaware of social graces?
She grumbled, but Sailor just kept laughing. One of the cooks in the back of the kitchen called out,
Hey, you guitar-playing terrorist guy. Yeah, you. I need some cans of whole tomatoes. Can you bring me as many as you can find in the back?
Sure. Whole tomatoes, huh?
Kurtz, still wearing his mask and his rifle on a strap over his shoulder while he packed in some leftover canapes, clapped his hands together, then went searching around the kitchen shelves.
I only see 2 left.
The cook, standing in front of the bubbling, steaming pot, let out a moan.
Are you a-kidding me? Oh, damn it. That's right. It's not our usual crowd. I can't believe how fast those high school kids can pack it in, though.
That's puberty for you,
Kurtz said sympathetically.
Sorry, but could you fetch some from the holder below? The cook begged. I need about 2 boxes worth. These stews are no good without tomatoes.
You got it, Kurtz promised. Whereabouts would I find 'em?
It should be obvious enough once you're down there, the cook told him. They've got signs posted around with dates and the contents.
Roger that.
Kurtz asked the PRT soldier in the kitchen with him to hold down the fort, then headed for the cargo hold alone. He passed through a dim passage, then down some stairs. He'd heard about the attack on Yang and Wu, so he had to stay vigilant. The ship was full of storage rooms. The one right below the kitchen was filled with shelf-safe ingredients for the grand ballroom, furniture of various sizes, and stage equipment. He expected Yang and Wu would be on patrol in the area right about now. Kurtz turned his radio on.
Uros 6 to Uros 9. I'm heading your way. Don't shoot me by accident.
There was no response.
Yang-kun, he tried again. Where's that reply? Teacher's gonna mark you absent.
No response. It was strange. Normally, Yang would have responded,
Uros 9, roger, immediately. Uros 9, respond. Uros 9.
Kurtz decided to stop playing around and call him one more time, but there was still no response. He had no more luck with attempts to call Wu, who should have been with him. He then called in to Operations HQ on the bridge.
Uros 6 to HQ. Code 11, Area C3. Tighten the ring.
HQ, roger. Be careful, Clouseau responded.
Did that amateur get you again? Come on, guys.
Tightening his hold on his rifle's grip, Kurtz approached the hold. The gun's long barrel made the corridor feel especially narrow. Tonight, Kurtz's weapon of choice was an assault rifle with an automatic function, a German-made one with a 7.62 millimeter barrel. It had been modified to increase its accuracy, but it wasn't a sniper rifle. Long-range guns were useless in an enclosed space like this. He approached the door to the cargo hold and listened. He could hear a low whirring sound, almost, but not quite, like the buzz of fluorescent lights, and the faint splash of footsteps in water. No, whatever that was, it was more viscous than water. There was something almost sticky about it. He couldn't explain why, but the presence didn't feel human. Strange.
Well, wondering about it won't do any good,
he told himself. Kurtz took in a deep breath, opened the door wide, and stepped into the hold. The cargo hold, illuminated dimly, was larger than he'd expected. It was a high-ceilinged room full of neat lines of small cargo containers, pallets stacked high with cardboard boxes. Oh, they have pallets. It should be pallets. 2 L's, right? Yeah, a pallet is... Okay. Anyway, it's pallets. I'm making some on-the-fly edits. Palettes.
We're going to paint a lovely picture.
The cargo hold, illuminated dimly, was larger than he'd expected. It was a high-ceilinged room full of neat lines of small cargo containers, pallets stacked high with cardboard boxes, and furniture, some with glass and mirrors.
Too many blind spots.
Kurtz moved further into the hold, readying his rifle carefully. One of the containers on his left side was open. He looked over, curiously. No, it wasn't simply open. The door was bent and twisted, as if it had been torn off of its hinges. Something inside the container had forced its way out. Something terribly strong. He had a bad feeling about this. It was a sensation one couldn't acquire through training alone. It wasn't a sense of the civilian, Harris, hiding somewhere and watching him. It was something much worse. Kurtz made it to the back of the hold, where the dim light picked up something glimmering on the floor. Some kind of viscous red fluid had been scattered forcefully across several meters. It hung on the walls, the girders, and even the containers across from him.
Is that blood? Intestines?
Then, even further in, behind a crushed cardboard box, he could see the leg of someone standing there. Was that what had made the squishing sound before?
Yang?
It was almost as if a person had exploded. Suddenly, Kurtz found himself leaping to the side. A high-caliber bullet tore through the place he'd been standing a moment before, and hit the floor. It kicked up a cloud of dust as the low, muffled gunshot reached his ears. He came out of a roll, then pointed his rifle in the direction of the shot. The mysterious attacker leaped at him immediately and swiped his gun aside. The power on display was incredible. It bent Kurtz's rifle in the middle and sent it flying into the wall. Kurtz's hand was stinging, with a dull pain running down his index finger. He caught a glimpse of the attacker, a large man in a coat. Was this the passenger Yang had mentioned? No, this wasn't a passenger. It wasn't even human. Kurtz let out a grunt as he dodged. The fist scraped by him and hit the container beyond with an ear-rending screech. The burly figure's blows had the power of a sledgehammer. There was nowhere left to run, and the man's other hand seized Kurtz by the neck. Kurtz gurgled. The man then began to lift, and Kurtz's feet left the floor. The stranger's strength was overpowering, unrelenting, and brutal. Kurtz's vision clouded. His struggles were in vain. He couldn't breathe, and he could feel his spine creaking. All Kurtz could see in his blurring vision was the face of his enemy. It was a simple, blank mask, with a horizontal slit glowing red where the eyes should be. No mouth, no nose. Expressionless. Completely expressionless. It could kill him and not feel a thing. And that is where we will leave it for this Monday. Maybe we won't finish it up next week. I don't know. We will endeavor to finish it next week, but it'll be kind of a long one, so we'll see. Maybe not. The hope is we finish it next week. Anyway, as I indicated before, this one is more comedy-oriented, but it does have serious moments. Let's see, anything else? So this Wednesday we'll be continuing to read through To Walk the Night by William Sloane. And this Friday we'll be starting The Nightland by William Hope Hodgson, sorry. I think I got his name right. I don't have the copy of the book in front of me. Yes, William Hope Hodgson. I'm looking at it now. It is now in front of me. So yeah. Much to look forward to this week. Sorry about last week. Stuff happens. Yeah. I think that is everything I can think of. My brain's a little frazzled at the moment. Shifting gears, it doesn't come quickly to me. I apologize. So hopefully people enjoyed. I apologize for the weird, 10-minute gap in the middle for no reason, because I forgot to hit the button that made audio come back. I have a huge brain. I haven't done that in a minute. Hopefully I won't make a habit of it. Anyway, until next time, hopefully Amazon Web Services starts functioning soon. Other than that, stay safe, stay sane, and maybe we should get some more regulation and break up some of these large companies. For the good of us all. Stay safe, stay sane, be decent to each other, and I'll see you all next time. Toodaloo!